Hello, hi there. It's time to plant the garlic. I yesterday showed you how to separate all the bulbs into individual cloves. I then took all those different cloves for all those different varieties. I put each one in its own paper bag, and now I'm planting. So let me show you the process. It's very simple. So the first thing I've done, and I've already got this part done, so I'll show you on the other bigger garden where I'm going to plant the majority, is I kind of roughed up the soil just to loosen it up. It's not really tilling, it's just getting it so that it, you can stick your finger in here and things have the ability to kind of grow without having to push the dirt around too much. I then added a little bit of Espoma Biotone, which is a great starter fertilizer. It's organic. I just sprinkled that over the whole thing. And again, I just kind of zhuzhed it up. I also had some leftover compost manure. It's the bagged kind. Hold on a second, I'll show you. So I got this summer when my favorite local garden store had a summer sale. So I saved a little bit. So it's just compost and manure. You can get this at a lot of different places. So I added a little bit of that also on top of the soil. And again, then I just sort of kind of zhuzhed it up. I have a little hand tool that kind of sort of looks like a rake. And I just sort of pulled it through to get those things kind of incorporated and the soil loosened up. I then made kind of a little row, and I just basically, you take a clove of garlic, and so here's a clove, and you want to have the pointy end up and the root end down, and you just stick it in there and kind of push it down. And then when I cover this back over it, they should all be about 2 inches from the surface ish. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do want it to be, 2-3 inches below the surface. That will give it the room it needs to grow and root in without making it too hard for them to push through. So I'm also going to, once these have sprouted up a little bit, it's the middle of October right now, so we are getting colder weather, but it's not completely winter time yet. So they should sprout a little bit. Then I'm going to take some pine bark mulch. It's kind of like pine needles and sort of a barky mulch, and I'll put a thin layer of that over top just to give them a little bit of protection. They don't really need it, but it did seem to help the garlic that I grew last year get a better start and grow some bigger bulbs. So I'm gonna pause now and cover this. Oh, actually, let's just cover it up. Let's just show you. So I'm gonna, the other thing, the white stuff you see is I sprinkled a little bit of bone meal over each of the places where I planted garlic. And before that, I sprinkled a little bit of blood meal. So those are a little bit more targeted amendments that help give the soil some things that the garlic's going to need. I will fertilize again in the spring with a good all-purpose type of fertilizer, and then I have found that giving them bone meal a couple of times through the growing season, starting in the spring once and then maybe again in a month or two later, gives the bulbs all the nutrition they need because they are what we call heavy feeders. So I'm going to pause now, relocate to the bigger garden, and I'll show you what we're doing over there, although it's basically all the same. I'm out here in the larger garden, and sorry, it's kind of bright out here, so this may be a little hard to see, but I have roughed up the dirt with my little rake, hand rake thing. I have sprinkled some of that compost manure bagged mix on where I'm going to be planting the garlic. I have also sprinkled some of the Espoma Biotone, and then I'm going to just kind of work this in with the compost, and then I'm going to make kind of a little row like that just to kind of keep myself in a line. And when I'm doing that, if I'm noticing that it's really stiff, not very deep, if I can't go very deep, I'm going to take my little rake and rake this up again, which this is. So I'm going to rake this up again, and then I'm going to take the garlic cloves, push them in so that they're about 2 inches deep. Cover them up, and we'll be all done. So, thanks for joining me here today in Aunt Susan's garden as we get the garlic planted. I'll try to add a shot at the end of where all I'm planting it, but actually, let me back that up. Let me just show you where my plans are to plant it, and then I will post an update when they sprout. Hang on. So the plan is to put most of it in this bed here, but leave room in between. Hopefully that in the spring I could plant some things like some lettuces in between, maybe even some broccoli, and then here kind of down the middle so that I can put things on either side. I'm planning, I think, for this to be all tomatoes along here. I've got a few onions that I'm trying to do the overwintering thing with onions, and some lettuces I'm trying to get up here for some cool season things. So that it's not, anyway, sorry. And then kind of a grouping in here. And then also could be also some over here and along the back there. Although I still have a few carrots that I haven't harvested yet, so we'll see maybe how big those get. Anyways, thanks for joining me here today. I'll post an update when they sprout.